Hi,
Ryan. Good to be here.
good to have you all here.
Busy few months.
Right. Okay, let's see. Is this? Welcome to Raising Happy Kids Zoom show, episode 17. The one rule to raising happy kids. You are already using it. During this 1 hour Zoom show, I focus on sharing tips and lessons on the one rule to raising happy kids. Each episode has at least one example of the one rule in action, demonstrating how it helps you raise a happy child. Then we have Q&A and discussion. When I talk about raising happy kids or creating harmony with kids, I bring up the one rule. The one rule equals agreement. Agreement equals harmony. Using the one rule means you find agreement. That's the rule. You find a solution that everyone likes. You've found agreement. You've found harmony. Knowing and following the one rule is all you really need to create harmony between you and your kids. In any situation where there are differences that might lead to conflict between you and your kids, use one rule. I learned this strategy from 3-year-old children. I was teaching them a complex conflict resolution strategy, actually intended for adults, and they taught me this. So don't think you're in for a rough time. It's simple, it's easy, it's powerful and effective. It works if you use it. Last week, I asked myself another question. I find it so interesting when I become solution-oriented instead of problem-oriented. That means instead of focusing on the problem, once I understand the problem, I focus on finding a solution, or better yet, allowing a solution to reveal itself to me. That's what I did when I asked myself, what do I want people to connect with, to feel? The answer was, I want them to feel good about themselves, or something like that. That's when the following answer appeared. I've forgotten the exact question I asked, but not the answer. I was surprised and delighted with the answer. I want people to realize that they are already using the one rule. That understanding surprised me. And as more and more of it was revealed to me, it delighted me. Of course, people are already using the one rule. I am not teaching them anything they don't know. I'm not teaching them anything strange to them. I'm just helping them expand their use of something they use daily without thinking about it. They use it. You use it. Every time you come to a decision inside of yourself, you're using the one rule. Most likely you had to consider several options or possibilities to reach that decision. Even if it just took you a few seconds for you to agree with yourself, that is what I want. You also use the one rule whenever you agree with someone else. Together you come to a decision, an agreement. Yes, tomorrow I'll go to the auto parts store after I get my nails done. Even with your kids, you're using the one rule. You're coming to agreements. Think about it. Of course you are. You are not just thinking of it as a rule, as something required. So at times you are not coming to agreement. I'm here to help you think of coming to agreement as required, as a rule, as the one rule. You just expand the situations where you come to agreement until coming to agreement is just what you do and your kids do. It is the rule you and your kids follow. When you use the one rule, you are creating harmony. Your kids are creating harmony. You are becoming used to creating harmony, familiar with how good it feels to everyone involved. One point to be clear on is that even if a situation seems complicated and that it is impossible to find a solution that everyone involved can feel good about, it is still possible. An example from my first book came to mind at the end of my meditation today. I want to share it with you now. Where there's a will, there's a way. But Dad, I have plans for that week. I'm going camping with some of my friends. I'm sorry, Toby, I didn't know you had anything planned. I was going to tell you tonight. I thought 2 weeks in advance would be enough notice. I'll need to take some of the camping gear. You talk as if you're going camping, but we haven't discussed this enough for me yet. I still want you to go to Washington, D.C. with me that week. Any other week, Dad, just not that one. I can't do that. My office is sending me for a meeting that week, and I just got a call from your grandmother that all the arrangements are made for the family reunion. I thought 2 weeks would be enough advance warning, too. Can't you make your camping trip for another week? We can't. Jeremy is leaving after the camping trip for the rest of the summer, and Craig is coming up, especially for the trip. I would hate to miss it. I don't see how we're going to work this one out. Not so we're both happy with the results and feel we're getting what we need. I suppose you could go on your camping trip and I could go to Washington, D.C., but it's not really what I want. I was really looking forward to exploring with you and also having you with me at the family reunion. No one there has seen you since you were a little boy. When exactly is your meeting, Dad? I have one meeting on that Wednesday and another on Thursday. The family reunion is on Saturday. I thought that on Monday, Tuesday, maybe Friday, maybe Sunday, you and I would have time together to go adventuring. But which Saturday is the reunion? Before your meetings or after? After. What's your plan? I'm thinking that this has got to work out. Do you think you could take off the Monday and Tuesday after the meetings instead of the one before? I think I could work that. Why? Let me make a couple of quick calls. It's going to work. We can leave for our camping trip a couple of days early so I get the full time with my friends. On Thursday or Friday, I will fly to Washington, D.C. Toby, that's great. You are becoming a master negotiator. I could not imagine how this would work. Thanks for your efforts, and thanks for understanding how important this trip is to me. Here, as always, the important thing to remember is that there is a way for things to work, so everyone involved gets to feel good. Keep that in mind. This has been my experience whenever I have made this effort. I'm glad you are here. Now let's have Q&A and discussion. Okay.
A great idea about family reunion.
What?
Nice. I like it. A great idea. Like spoke about the family reunion. It's really very important. Giving time to the family and have a reunion. Then only you can hear each other, listen to each other.
Right.
It's nice slide. I really like the slide.
Some folks aren't willing to go through that much trouble to work things out, or if they don't know about the one rule, they don't have the skills to even try.
That's true.
Agreed.
That's true. That's what I want to help happen.
They would just throw their hands in the air and say, well, you're not coming then, you're choosing camping over me, you know, something like that.
Right.
Or a parent would treat a child like, I'm the boss of you. You're get rid of that camping trip. This is more important, you know.
Yeah. Both of those things.
Some parents aren't willing to negotiate like that. And then some children would throw hissy fits and say, you always want me to do what you want. But they went through all this trouble to work it out, and the way you explained it, and that's what it's all about. And it worked, but it was a lot of work. Even when you were reading it, I'm like, this is a lot of work they're doing here to pull this off, you know? You know what I mean?
But it's so valuable, you know?
Yeah.
It's worth the work.
It worked out.
And imagine if they hadn't, then you have to do the inner work to find some kind of harmony in yourself about whatever's going on.
Well, the consequences could be long-term relationship.
That's right.
Trouble.
Yeah, could be.
You know, like, remember back in 2020 when you chose camping over going with me? You know?
Yeah.
Remember that?
I remember. Yeah, I remember. Children
that.
backfire. Yeah, children do backfire like this. I agree with you, Brian.
You rather be with your friends than with your dad, and you know that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. But you know, we have. Yes, Sera?
No, I just wanted to just say one thing, that I think in the beginning of the slideshow, Karen, when you're explaining about agreement equals harmony, I think that before all of this happens, is that everybody is there because they want each other to be happy. I want to be happy, but has to be an understanding what agreement really is, that there is a foundational agreement to agree, that's what the one rule is that we are here, everyone to be happy.
Yes.
Everyone. That's what you were saying a few times ago, when you were saying, when somebody was asking you, what's the difference between the one rule and compromise? You know, and compromise is a really different thing. You know, compromise is when somebody feels a little bit disappointed. Almost everybody feels disappointed, sometimes, you know, or when they're begrudgingly compromising. But what I see you're talking about is that this is what Women's Federation always talks about, is living for the sake of others. But that does not mean cheating yourself.
Right.
You know, that does not mean cheating yourself. It means that your happiness is important to my happiness. You know, that your happiness affects my happiness. Not what I'm getting is what makes me happy. That I'm getting what I want. That's not where happiness comes from.
But the thing, Sera, the thing about that is that part of what I would want, and really I would think most parents want, and anybody wants, the people that they love to feel happy too. That's part of what we want.
Absolutely. So
So
the children, like what Brian is saying, that I think when this starts, when people are 3, and you have that natural empathy, you have that, the 3-year-olds are so clear in feeling other people's feelings, you know?
right,
So that's what I'm trying to get at, is that when we don't have that behind us, we kind of have to mentally agree to agree. You know, because like Brian was saying, some people wouldn't work that hard to make sure their dad is happy, you know, or to understand, or they have already some kind of a really good relationship that he's saying, you know, I thought 2 weeks in advance would be enough. Like sometimes, you know, we do things with our kids with 10-minute notice, you know. Then you get what you get. You get who's available. You get who's into it at the moment. It's just, you know, a spontaneous thing. But, you know, somebody's there in that example working from a place where they've had a lot of commitment to each other, you know.
right,
And there's a place with, so, but if they're both coming from this one rule, then they understand that they're, you know, of course everybody needs to be personally fulfilled, you know, my personal happiness.
yes,
And then there's some people who are kind of the opposite, is like they never, you know, you try to get them to say what they want, and they say, well, I just want what you want. It's like, actually, no, you do want something, but then, no, I just want what you want. And, you know, there's some people like that, and it can drive you nuts. But you know, because they really do need to feel fulfilled also, you know. So, yeah, I feel like that one rule, that this is coming on a premise or on a foundation that we are all here to create harmony, you know, that everybody starts on that page, you know, that
yeah,
what does harmony look like? Okay, harmony looks like agreement if we're committed to each other's well-being, you know.
right,
To my kids, my husband and I were committed to our kids' well-being, and they are committed to their siblings and their parents, you know, to have that harmony in the house. Then, you know, everybody can go that distance, like what you're saying, all that work to make sure that things are have a solution.
well, the
Yeah.
thing is that if you don't do that work, then you're going to have the other unpleasant work of dealing with feeling bad inside yourself, or the other person feeling bad, or everybody feeling bad, struggles, fighting, you know, like there's all kinds of negative, unpleasant things you're going to have to deal with if you don't do the what effort is involved in finding harmony.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be some effort either way. So you
Well,
choose
the
where
thing
to
is,
put your effort.
yeah, exactly. And the thing is, once it becomes understood and practiced, you become so skilled at coming to solutions because of this, the thing that I mentioned about being solution oriented instead of problem oriented. Like problem oriented enough to understand the problem, but then everything else on the solution. And if even one mind is given the question, well, like, how do I solve this, you know, like I have I mean, I'm sure we all deal with this kind of thing every day where, like, what do you want to eat for lunch? Or, well, you may not get your options, Brian, I don't know, but what do I want to wear today? Or, are we going to do this? Are we going to do that? You're always, I got lost.
No, I could see what you're saying, that you're already using the rule when you're making choices every minute of the day.
Oh,
Like,
I know what
do
it
I
was.
feel like wearing?
As you get practice at doing this, it happens fast. It happens automatic without even thinking about it. And yeah, it is part of it. That's part of the topic that appeared for today, in terms of we're already doing this. It's not something that nobody's ever heard of. It's like something we use all the time. We just don't have it as a formal, thought out, the one rule, right? But now we could.
I think
Yeah. What, Brian?
in your scenario here, in your scenario that you present today, I think, I don't know if you did this intentionally or not, but it seems to me that the one rule was already established between those two individuals.
Yeah.
They worked things out naturally. Nobody had to explain what they were doing in the conversation. Right. The dad didn't say, okay, what can we do here that could be best for you and best for me? All that was eliminated and already was a given, I think.
Yes.
They both went straight to negotiation.
Right. Right. And I thought it was interesting because that example came at the end of a meditation. And because I had wanted something to add to this slideshow. And anyway, so, and it came out of my original book, which was written a long time ago before the one rule existed, but the concepts were still there and very active in my thinking and my life. And I thought that was an interesting little gift to me, so that I could make the connection between what I had done for all those years and the one rule. Now there's a name to give and a specific form, but it was already created. It was already in process enough so that story got written in the book. And you're right in terms of it being, because it's in the chapter on teens. And so, and you're right. It's already, the father and the son, they already are practiced at this. It's not anywhere near their first time. They've probably been doing it for years. So.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really key point also, is for people, for people who may not be doing it for years, to have some kind of, I don't know if you want to try to come up with this, but communicate,
What?
To communicate with each other. How do we, to come up with guidelines for people who have not been doing this? It could be even used in groups, in support groups, that how can we come up with ways, because I can see, like, on many levels in my home, for example.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my struggle is we have a lot of ways that we communicate, and we have a lot of agreements, and we have a lot of harmony. But if I want to do something new, I don't know how to introduce it. And I don't know who's open to it. And I don't want to push people into something that I'm into just because I'm into it, you know. But I do want to suggest it because I just feel like it would be helpful. You know, because as a mom, you want to be doing things where people can be learning new things, you know. So people, they're already busy. They're already have kind of a comfortable kind of schedule and things that they're doing. But I'm not good at communicating. I'm not good at saying, do you think we could find 10 minutes out of our days to do something new? Do something um, together, you know, or not all together. That's a lot of people in my house, but some of them. And then, so that's what I'm saying, is that sometimes I'm not very good at trying to find the way to initiate things. Or my daughter's very good at it. My daughter's very good. I would like to.
Or you could have her do it for you.
That's what I'm saying. If I really want to get something done, then I definitely go through her. But
yeah, you could.
So
but if you wanted to improve that in yourself, do you guys ever have family meetings?
Yeah, we always do, every day. Every day. That's something that we do all agree on, and we do all share.
Can you bring that up at a family meeting?
Right, I do, and everybody agrees then, but it doesn't happen. So I mean, I make some kind of suggestions, but I don't follow through myself. I don't put the organizing part, you know, like actually, because then when I'm talking about it, there's a nervousness that I impart to other people, and then the fun goes away. Because when I'm trying to do the organizing part, when I'm trying to make it, to realize it, to make it actually come about, there's not a happy kind of thing. There's more of a nervousness. So then the fun of it is gone.
Right.
And then it's more like, oh, we're being controlled. We're being controlled.
No, yeah.
But we've already agreed. But that's not what actually happened.
Have you ever had a meeting where you go through, like, you get their ideas of how it can happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, certain things. I mean, that's actually what happens when something does work. That's the one only way that it's really, that I can really do anything, as far as like a trip I just took with my daughter. You know, it's like always checking in with, you know, what, just not doing the planning myself, but really asking her to do more of the real work in it. So
yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, it's just that a couple of other things that I'd like to do that are
It sounds to me like you're not giving yourself enough credit. I think that you're doing it. You feel that maybe you're not as aggressive as you could be because you are concerned with others and their feelings, and you don't want to dominate the meeting. You know what I mean? It seems like you are doing it and you have the skills, but you just don't want to be the domineering person. I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit. I think you're already doing it, and And
Oh,
I
thank you.
that's just what's coming off to me,
Yeah,
which is
kind of
a
Nice.
little
want to
bit
lead
different.
from behind kind of thing. You know, lead from
Mhm.
behind, that kind of
Yeah,
thing. You really want to inspire them to do those things. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't.
right. Well, yeah, because we know that you can't have success every time, even though we would like to. That's just a, right, Karen? I mean, you can't
Sure
always have
seems like.
success.
And sometimes it's not meant to be, you know, it's an
Just,
inspiring
just
idea, great idea, but it might not work for everybody. So sometimes it's not the priority.
I
Also,
recall a
sometimes.
time where I was. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
Oh, well, I was recalling a time where I was a teacher in a prison for a year, and I was the leader of a class. And the gentlemen in those classes were incarcerated for many years, and the class I was teaching was to help them with life skills of how they're going to handle their lives once they were paroled. And part of the lessons I had to teach was how they were going to do things when they got out. And this one rule concept, I didn't know about it then, would have worked because a lot of these guys have what they call like a criminal mind. You know, they don't have the skills that we're talking about. And I recall one of the lessons I had to teach was when you get out of here and you go home, don't go back to your old ways of bossing everybody around and doing what you want. You're going to have to compromise. You're going to have to say, you know, why didn't anybody mow the lawn while I was gone? Or how come nobody changed the light bulbs? Things like that, you know? So um, it's just, you know, they had to learn to compromise. I got to go on mute here because something's going to happen. Get my blood sugar checked. Go ahead, somebody else go.
That's fine. You're fine.
Everybody say hi to my nurse.
Hi,
Hi.
nurse.
Nurse.
Hello. Oh, it didn't even work. Grab
So-
blood?
I don't have any blood apparently.
Oh, all gone.
The Dracula got it all. But anyway, do you follow what I'm saying? It's like I was teaching how to compromise in that class and how to, when they got home, not to go back to their old ways and not to think in the capacity that what got them in there. One of the biggest things that they taught me as a teacher was that a large percent of these criminals and people, convicts or whatever you want to call them, end up back in there again. But my plan and my goal as a teacher in a prison was to get them to be able to be successful when they got out. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, is being successful while working with other folks. It's not just about yourself. It's about everyone, your circle of, you know, your family and different people. And even in here, you know, like I invited this nurse, I just told her what I was doing, you know, and we're just gonna, and then I invited her in to say hi to everybody. You know what I mean? So it's working with people. It works. Batool, you're so quiet.
Yeah, I'm listening. Thinking Sarah was saying, and I was listening. Sarah, what if you try to have a mama's note on the fridge or any place at home? You just put mama's notes, sticky notes, like today's mama note is this. And your children can give the feedback that they applied. And once you're going to read their feedbacks, maybe this will really help you, make you happy even that you're going to get, the comments back, how they worked with them. And maybe someone even needs to have more help in that, or maybe they need to talk to you. So then you can fix a time with them. For example, that I really need to help in this. You keep mama's jar, mama's note, something that this way the communication in a different style. Children are different these days. They like different strategies, and this might, work with them. Maybe they want to hang out with you maybe they want to talk about that matter, or maybe they got a good reward after listening to that thing or following, they appreciate. So something, I think so this will be a very good idea if you just try this, like mama's note.
You make
Usually I
me,
do that with, yeah.
that's what you make me remember when I was a child. My dad found out that at the dinner table, a lot of times the conversations turned into gossip or talking about people and they became negative. So my dad noticed that and he didn't like that. So what he did was we had a dry erase board that he hung in the kitchen. And every morning before he went to work, he put a saying on there or a statement or even a word. And we all had to look at that word throughout the day. And then at the dinner table, that was the topic of discussion. So it was kind
Yeah,
of like a mama's note, like you're saying, but all throughout the day, we knew that with each one of us, I'm the oldest of 8 kids and then 2 parents, we had to be prepared to talk about what was on that board as our topic during dinner. And
yeah,
rather than saying, well, Uncle Gene, he's a drunkard, or, he got drunk or at the Halloween party, or so, instead of talking bad things, we talked about a positive statement that was on that board, or we talked about what the definition of a special word that he put there or topic, and it worked. It worked for positive discussion between 10 people at a dinner table, rather than just nonchalant or anything that would pop up. It was a prepared conversation that we had each night, and we all looked
yeah.
forward to it. Yeah.
This is very
Interesting.
good because these days on WhatsApp also family have groups. They can write on the WhatsApp also. Even my son, if he needs something, he always messages me on the WhatsApp, Mama, wake me up in the morning this time. Or if I'm teaching and he knows that I'm busy at that time, he just messages me for a reminder. Then I also message him back, though we are living in the same place. But sometimes, these messages are on record. And I give him sayings and he tells me. Sometimes he write a note on the, like on a paper, and then leave it in the kitchen for me. Sometimes I write in his, and I leave something in his room. When he wakes up, he should see that this is ready. I have to go to school, his things are ready, and like this, these things I believe work out well. And then some, and even this, how you are communicating, it's not necessary always we talk physically, but these are also a way, like ways of communicating. And once this thing happens, and they will get time for eventually to talk to you even.
Karen
Yeah,
and I work like that every day. She kind of initiated that. We talk to each other on Messenger every day, no matter what, and it's something that's just happens. We haven't defined it till this 1 second that I'm saying it right now, but I look forward to. I know the time when she gets on. It's late at night before I go to bed, and she'll tell me her day was full of errands, and she walked on her treadmill, and she meditated, and she's planning this, she's planning that, or we sold some books, or we didn't sell some books, or every day. And I look forward to it before I go to bed. I check in and I
Well,
respond to her, and it's exactly what you're saying, Batool. And I think we all probably have these relationships with the people in our circle of friends and family. And I'm happy to report that part of my day is dedicated just to Karen Ryce, that I know that she's thinking of me and wishing me the best. And there's going to be something there when I check.
yeah, that really feels, more very nice that someone is looking after you, someone is asking for you. Hello.
Yeah,
yes.
I think Brian
Yeah,
froze.
yeah.
He'll come back in.
But I was thinking, when we talk about one rule, two tools comes in my mind. First is love and trust, because
Mhm.
agreement only can be, we can reach to an agreement once we trust someone. And obviously we want to reach to an agreement, and everyone wants happiness because we want love, we want peace, and we love each other. And trust and love both plays a very important role. These are not only tools towards agreement, these give trust also, and strength also, to do whatever you want to achieve, finally to an agreement. Because we have to see, first of all, where the problem starts from. What is the root cause of the, once we know the root cause, then we can work on, from the root we can see where the problem has started, because problem starts from somewhere. like there is no problem, the natural problem is not there. There is a way a problem has started somehow, a source. We need to find that source out. And then when we trust each other, we love each other, we listen to each other, we can hear each other's opinions about it, and finally, eventually, we all will come to an agreement. And this will, first agreement might be a little difficult, maybe, but second will be a little easier, and so, then it will be a part of the family because we will get each other more. And obviously, if I'm coming in the show, I'm listening to you because I trust you. You are listening to me because you are trusting me. Trust plays a very important role in agreement also. When we reach to an agreement, we have to trust each other. And if we find someone not listening to us, so maybe we are not able to gain their trust. We have to work in that area first. We have to gain the trust of that person. Maybe we need more time with him or her. That person needs more time. You know, sometimes children, even and parents also, they are different. They don't trust easily on others. They don't want to share their problems. Even though if they disagree also, they will not show that they have, disagreed. But our, like from inside, we feel that maybe this please them. Maybe, maybe we have to work on in that area. So trust and love should not be neglected in the beginning before we start working towards the agreement, because this is the step towards the agreement. Whatever the problems, I believe trust and love plays, a very important role towards the solution.
I agree with that. I think that people can really use the one rule as a really effective tool.
I
And they
keep
have
getting
to
notices
know
that my
that,
internet connection is unstable.
oh,
I'm not at home,
that love
I'm in
and
a hospital bed here.
Right.
that love and trust is the foundation for
Yes.
the collective intention of agreement.
Well,
know.
the thing is that that I am called specifically to work with adults and children and children and children to be, and okay, especially parents and children, the love is there, and especially if the children are young, then the trust is there. If it has not been like when you get older, maybe your parents have betrayed that trust so many times that it's hard to trust. But the one rule, if the parent introduces that concept, this, and they demonstrate, they take on themselves the demonstration of how this goes, because when you're using this with a baby or even with a 2-year-old, you have to find the agreement place. They, as far as I know, don't have the skills to do that yet. 3-year-olds do. 4, 5, everybody else, they have the skills, they can do that, they can find the agreement. The younger people, we have to find it. And I would say that when we're starting out with anyone, it's especially, but see, my focus is the children. That's who inspired me. That's kind of like what this is my task. This is what, I mean, it's not a task like a bad thing. It's a awesome thing. I love it.
Yes.
An identity.
But
Yes.
but this is my task. Other people can take on other tasks. And I've always felt that the love that is by nature there between especially a mother and a child, but let's say parents and children, it's based on survival of the species. If the species does not have this built in, there are parents that might choose just to, in fact, some of them do, abandon their children. You know, I mean, it happens because of too many stresses of one sort or another. Anyway, but I've always felt that as an ally on my side of helping, this was before the one rule, but now I see that even then the one rule, the name of the one rule, the concept of the one rule was there. That I always felt that love, that built-in love was an ally of mine to help people look at their children this way. Now, for myself, of course, I had that with my own children, but I remember specifically when I was working at Children's House, and I became aware that my task with all these other children was to have that same kind of love and care about them and their well-being as I had with my own children. And that was, I remember that day. Anyway, yeah, so.
What was that? What was that book we all had to read in high school, where all those kids were stranded on an island? Remember that?
Look at the flies.
That's it.
Yeah.
The
Right.
pig cut his throat, bash him in. Didn't work out too good for those kids. They didn't have the skills they needed. And at the very end, when the adults finally rescued them, the reader was kind of hitting the face of one rule, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, you kids didn't handle it too good. That's what I got out of that book. Who to the flies, you know?
Huh.
There's a book with a lesson how not to be.
Yeah, the two kids that managed to run away from the savage group, trying to maintain their civilized mindset, you know,
Because
their
they might,
mindset of morality, and you know,
because they might have learned something prior to their predicament, and they try to utilize the skills they did have and not go along with the negative stuff.
yeah,
But they were outnumbered. And that's kind of like how our lives could be too if we let it.
yeah, definitely reflected in our society.
We don't want to let it.
Karen was saying it. No, no. And then that's sometimes you have to deal with that. Like if you're teaching in prisons and things like that, that's the society that many of those people were thrown into. The abandonment, you know, the stress, like the poverty situations. Poverty is an incredible stress, you know. I feel like those people that survive that are all saints, you know, because they've had to force themselves into a positive mindset, you know, when they're surrounded by dire circumstances. So,
They lose their own personal value. They think they're not worthy.
right. So the ones who survive,
And
something
different
intact in
categories.
them.
Now we have bullies,
Right.
people that are self-centered, and
Yeah. I think the internet's kind of shaky.
Yeah, I remember in India, there was this one area where there were a lot of people just sort of sleeping outside. And I don't know whether I was passing by on a bus or something, but I noticed that in spite of all of this extreme poverty, there were people who were obviously enjoying being together. There was, it
Being
was like,
alive.
yeah, but also interacting with whoever, you know, they were talking and laughing, and it was like, wow, you know, like even in extreme situations like that, people can, like you were saying, you know, they can,
Their mindset.
yeah, yeah.
Positivity. Yeah, I learned a lot when I was in Brazil about people just getting by with so little and not worrying about it.
Right.
And then their life was very, very rich. You know, they were very, very satisfied with what was around them. You know, they could have tried harder for more education, or they could have gone after more material things. And there were a few of the people in the family that did, you know, so there was always a question of um, what were the two words? There was, you know, because the young people, okay, this was in a very countryside area, and they're young people who really want to, you would say, aspire for more. Then they can get out and they can go to the city. They can, you know, study a
Needs and
lot.
wants.
Well,
They
my dad used to criticize me because he said, I'm never content.
oh,
And you know what I mean? And I, I took that as a bad thing, but it just seemed like I always wanted to pursue other things and do more. And so I never really understood what he was trying to say there, where he maybe have humbled himself in his life and said, well, this is where I'm at. And, you know, I'm not going to strive for, like, maybe he thought, I'm done. I did my job, where I was still growing, you know. So I had a parent that was saying, just be happy with what you have. But I wanted to strive for more all the time. So it's
that's
hard to pick where to go with that.
Can you
me
do
too.
both?
Yeah, that's what I was feeling like when I was down there and I was going to my neighbors' houses, would trek through the sugar cane in flip-flops, you know, and it was like, okay, is this humble and worthy life, or is this apathy? You know, are they being apathetic about being more than what there is? But we we really enjoyed ourselves. I enjoyed so much making, um, you know, all kinds of strange and interesting things from the natural materials that were around us. You know, there was a mosquito repellent, and instead of spraying this chemical on your body, they'd get the big machete and carve out a termite nest from a tree, and you light the termite nest on fire, and it makes this smoke with a
Yeah.
very pleasant odor. And then this mosquitoes don't come because of this, just this incense that's kind of in the air from this nest from the tree, this insect nest, you know. And we're not using this chemical spray all the time, you know, this mosquito repellent, but you can just, you know, naturally convince the mosquitoes, you know, just make it like a disadvantageous for them, and they're not going to come at you, you know, because you know. So I mean, there were so many nice things in that respect. But again, that was the question, that where is the balance of having that love of being together, and that positive mindset without being overly like sick with consuming things, you know? Like in first world problems where people have this hoarding mentality, or, you know, they can't, you know, stop buying things, you know. I mean, it was just always weighing these two different human conditions that I could see, you know, as far as simple country life. But we have it all around us up here too. People who like to be off the grid, you know, and
Right.
to live off the grid and enjoy being together. But then, you know, you have the question of what am I contributing to society, or people, you know, what they would. So what is the more that people are striving for? Like Brian, you're saying the malcontent. You know, what is the end goal? You know.
Well, my dad would say to me, son, how many hamburgers can you eat? What does that mean? So now that I'm grown, I know what he was saying. How many hamburgers can you eat? You know, it's like,
Can you know everything?
or can you, or people that have millions and millions of dollars? Why? How many dollars do you need? And it's not what it's about, is what he was saying. You know, as long as your bills are paid and your kids are happy, you share the wealth. And that's what I'm doing now. Instead of hoarding all my money and hogging my money, I'm sharing it with my family. It's like I want to give it to them while I'm here, not leave it to them in a will. You know, and that's just a recent thing that I've learned just lately. Within the last couple of years, I've had like what they call a satori, an instant awakening. I woke up to a new way of thinking. It's not about the big numbers in my bank book. It's about smiles of the people that I'm associating with, and I'm doing that a lot more. It's so cool. It's working. I love it. I'm the happiest. Right now, I'm broke down. I'm sitting in a rehab, but I'm the happiest I've ever been.
Wow.
I could have been selfish and went home, but I would have had to pay $600-700 a week to be home. And I was thinking, that's selfish of me to throw that money just to be home and have my daughter wait on me and take care of me, when I could just come here and now I can utilize that money for Christmas gifts or pay my taxes and pay my bills. And so I'm suffering a little bit in this rehab prison, but I'm offering it up to give my daughter a break. So what I hear now is she's home decorating the house and doing things that she might not have time to do if I was there. She had to change, like this nurse just came in and changed my IV. You know, here it is, you know, my IV, you know, while we were talking. It's all working out. It's good. It's good.
Nice. Well, I'm going to have to end this.
That's a quick hour we did, huh?
I know.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
Thanks, Batool. Good to see you.
Love you all.
Same here.
Oh, good not to see you.
Good to see
You too, Karen. Sarah,
Yeah.
good to see you.
Okay.
Do I have all of you on Messenger?
Yeah.
Okay, Brian, I'll look for you on Messenger.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Here goes leave meeting button.